Hi everybody. Welcome to the end of the year transportability document meeting. We hope this meeting provides you with the opportunity to finalize your clear credential responsibilities, whether it is year 1 or year 2, looking at continuing on to the second year or getting your clear credential. In either case, congratulations. We're glad that you were able to get to this point, and we hope that we're going to be able to support you in a smooth completion of your transportability document. This particular presentation is made in a way that you will be able to use the play bar down below to be able to move forward or backwards. So once you've seen this once, you might want to refresh your memory and go back to a particular document. You can come back to this recording, and of course just use that play bar to kind of fast forward, rewind to the document you might be working on if you have questions. So we're hoping this is a much better way for you to get information and reference that. So this particular document, for those of you who don't know, the transportability document is specifically your transcript. It pretty much shows that you've completed your year 1 and year 2. So if for any reason you may be at moving to another district in your second year of induction, you will need to take this particular document with you because it's going to show that you've completed your year 1 requirements, right? For those of you who are year 2, you're going to be focusing on this side of the document. Now, some of you might have last year's document, and you might go ahead and notice that last year's document would be complete and that you're adding on to this year's document. That's totally fine. However, don't fret. If you don't have last year's document, it's totally fine to have this fresh second column to be completed. What we're really going to be looking at more closely in this particular presentation is this piece down here, right? This entire piece for your support provider and you to look at. And that's what we're going to go through step by step. So as a support provider, I'm going to go ahead and sit with you and make sure that I know that you've completed, all your modules, right? I'm going to go and make sure that you've completed your individual induction plan, that you've attended all the professional development that's required, that you have a CTP, that's the continuum of teaching profession, right? And we're going to talk about how that happens specifically. That you have your induction journal, that you've done your site observations of 2 peers, that you've met with me as a support provider regularly. These are the things that you're going to be looking at, and your support provider is basically just going to initial. What you'll notice, of course, then, is that us here in the BITS induction office are going to focus on anything that's labeled with a B. So our job is to go through and look at some of these things, right? And to verify that these are done in the manner in which they should be finished, right? And so, just FYI, yours is a first look, and your support provider will be looking at it, and then our program will come in and look at it again more clearly. So this particular process is just to make sure that you're really good to go. And it's quite simple. We provide you with this checklist because we think that this is a lot easier for you to understand, to make sure those things get cleared. So we're going to essentially use this checklist to be able to go through step by step everything that is on that bottom portion and how that should look, right? So the first you can see here is fact completion. The next is individual induction plan. After that is your continuum of teaching practice summary. Then the continuum of teaching practice booklet. The induction journal, meeting with your support provider. And then just for year 2, folks, right? Just for year 2, taking a look, making sure you have your CPR card and the application for a clear credential application process, right? So those are the things that we're going to go through step by step. And we're going to get started right now with the first part, which is the fact module completion. Simple, no-brainer here. You have a couple of options. Option number 1 would be just a letter saying, hey, great job, you finished. Option number 2 would be the checklist that clearly shows that the module was complete. Option number 3 is a lesser known, but it is the milestone report. And on bitsasupport.com, we have something called the milestone report. And when you finished your modules, the secretary went in and specifically made sure that your milestone report reflected that your modules were complete. So one of the things I want to caution you about, though, is because Module C is due pretty close to the time your transportability document is due, and there's a chance some of you might not have completion evidence of Module C. And remember, our program, our job, is to make sure that all these things are done. So if you weren't able to show evidence that Mod C is complete, then it's our job to do that. And so please don't worry and be concerned that you're going to look bad because you don't have that. It's our job to try to get those modules to you as quickly as possible. And sometimes we can, and sometimes we cannot. So we will take care of that. Do everything else that you can do, and we'll take care of making sure that that other piece does happen. So you're looking at completing or providing evidence that you've completed modules A, B, and C. Those are the three modules that you want to look at and make sure that you have. Pretty simple. So we've taken a look at that fact. Now we're going to take a look at the individual induction plan. So part of that individual induction plan, you know, is that you've chose a CSTP goal, an induction standard, that you've gone to classroom management or English learners, depending if you're year 1 or year 2, right? That's going to determine which one of those you attended, and that you've done 2 classroom observations. So this whole thing right now is what we're going to, my apologies, is what we're going to look at, right? We're going to go through and make sure that we guide you as to show you how you need to show this particular evidence to us, all right? So that's the next step. So here's your individual induction plan. Simple enough. You know that you chose that CSTP, and you know you chose an induction standard. Those were your goals, right? So what we're going to now do is take a look at how you're going to provide our office with very clear information to show that you've chosen a CSTP and that you've attended a professional development. So what you see, what I just did here is, here's my CSTP, here's the professional development that I attended. It's real clear which one aligns with which, because there's so much written down there, so we need to make sure when we look at these that you've done all those things, right? Same thing, here's your induction standard, really clear that it was pedagogy. I look down here to take a look, and here's the induction standard that was attended. So anybody looking at this document, because of this color coding, it's real clear that here's my CSTP right here, and here's the PD. Here's my induction standard, and here's the PD. So it's real simple for us to take a look at and see which of those match, right? And that's what you're looking to do. You're looking to do the best you can to provide us with the evidence that those things are complete. And that will get your document through much more quickly, right? Now, a few of the other things that you want to remember, right, are that you also were supposed to attend either a year 1 or a year 2 focus, right? So in this particular case, you can tell that this person is a year 2 person, right, because they went to the English language and they attended GLAD training, which is fabulous. And then the other thing that you needed to make sure to do, right, were your observations. And you can see clearly this person went to 2 observations. They clearly marked and showed us, here's classroom observation 1, here's classroom observation number 2. So really, really clear are all the pieces on this individual induction plan, aren't they? So again, just to recap, what do you have on here? You have your CSTP, professional development. You have your induction standard, professional development. You have your focus, professional development, right? If you're year 1, that is going to be class management. If you're 2, that's English language learners. Then the other thing you're going to have are your 2 observations. So all these things need to be very clear when we look at it. And so some of the ways we tell you to do that is to color code. That's the simplest way to do this lineup, to show here was my goal, here's what I attended, here was my goal, here's what I attended. And that's what you want to do when you're doing this document. Now, another really important piece of this document is that it is the document that actually shows whether or not you applied what you learned, right? So it is so critical for you to really take a good hard look at what you wrote. Maybe you wrote something at Module C and it made sense then, but maybe since then you've moved forward and you see the implications of how you applied it and the results of that. So this is a time right now, before you turn your transportability document in, this is the time to really take a close look at what you wrote and make any revisions to really show and demonstrate the power that these PD and these experience had on how you applied it and the results in your classroom. Sometimes the document itself, the individual induction plan, right, might not be enough. So some folks create a second page, and that's fine. Just make sure that it's clear and you have good headings. Once you're done with that, the next step is to show evidence of attendance, right? So this person went to a particular training here for their CSTP, and this is the evidence that they chose to give us. This person, this was the induction standard. They gave us a PowerPoint. This person went to the Year 2 focus, which was on GLAD, so they gave us the PowerPoint, and then they gave us 2 classroom observation write-ups. So some of the things that we offer, we're fine with agendas, that's good. If you have a sign-in sheet, that's good too, right? Some folks attend a conference, and they might have a copy of the conference booklet and highlight the things and the sessions that you attended, right? A number of things, maybe just as an example, because some of you might be using what you did at your staff meetings, right? So if you did something, let's say you had a site meeting and you basically as a team maybe got together and looked at text complexity or benchmarks or whatever aligns obviously with your particular goals, then you can certainly use that particular staff meeting notes or agenda item. But again, the real trick here isn't just throw everything in and say this is what counts as PD. It is lining up your goal with the PD attendance, with the application, and with the implications of how that actually played out in terms of benefiting kids and benefiting your craft. All right, so essentially we've done a pretty good job. We've gone over the fact evidence, we've gone over the individual induction plan, and now we're going to take a look at the continuum of teaching practice summary. So you all are familiar with that. You've done this for Module A, Module B, and Module C. For those of you who are early completion option candidates, you probably will be doing this particular Mod C section at the second Mod C, right? And that's fine. In some cases, I believe some of you often do this 2 times and kind of revisit it. But, don't fret. If you have questions, any ECO candidates can contact us. But essentially, this is what we're looking for. So let's take a look at how this is done. Again, color coding, right? This particular document's already marked with yellow color coding. So essentially what this person has done is they have chosen a particular standard that they wanted to highlight. And they chose this one in particular. Why they chose that? Anybody's guess. Maybe because they felt that they showed growth at the end of the year. Maybe it's because they knew they had really good evidence to support that. It runs the gamut, but the bottom line is what you need to realize is that for every single standard, for every CSTP, all you need to do is one element, okay? And this particular person chose this one element as theirs. Then when they went into standard 2, or the next standard, they chose this particular element. So they highlighted it, right? Now, what you do with that then is you say, okay, this is the standard I want you to look at because I just was fabulous. So let's say that first standard was standard 1.3. What you then need to provide are 2 things, okay? You need 2 pieces of evidence. One is your support providers' information. What did they say they saw in relationship to that standard. They were in your classroom. They documented that they saw something that related to that standard. You need to show and reflect that. The second piece of evidence is pretty much anything. It can come from a module. It can be student work. It can be your lesson plans. It really, honestly, what it depends upon is what best shows off that you did this standard, right? What is the best piece of evidence that you have that really shows that this standard is at play in your classroom? This particular person has this idea of real-life context, right? Meaningful real-life context for students and applying that. And then they basically showed how they used the strategy of a time warp gallery walk and applied these different things. They actually had some of these in their room, right? And so this, they thought, was a really good reflection, because not only did they have pretty good evidence, but their support provider was able to really talk about it, and they had good work samples that supported that. So again, just think about it. Okay, this is the element I chose. What do I have that really shows me off, right? Remember at the beginning of the year we told you to throw stuff in a shoebox, right? Well, here we go. This person chose, in this particular case, this particular standard. That's where their support provider evidence supports what they chose, and that's where other evidence supports what they chose. Looks like they have here what looks to be a PowerPoint training. They probably attended this PD, and maybe that training talked about this idea of tickets or rewards and having a class party. So this particular thing aligns with the evidence. So for all your CSCP elements, and remember it's going to be a total of 6, right? You're going to have 2 pieces of evidence, right? Half of them will be from your support provider, and the other half will be other. All right, so fact, IIP, the summary. We're going to skip this one right now. We're going to come back to that, okay, in a little bit. Right now, we're going to take a look at the induction journal. So your induction journal, here it is. This year, we took a look at that, and we divided the induction journal into sections so that it would be a little clearer, all the little pieces. And what you did was you wrote about how you're doing in modules A, B, and C, right? And so in doing so, right, you have a pretty good understanding of how what you're doing in your classroom apply to that standard. So here's what you're going to want to do. You're going to want to use this standards sheet. You're going to want to then highlight the section of the standard that talks about what you want to focus on. Then highlight some of the areas that align with that. And I'm just randomly highlighting here, and there would probably be some in Mod C. So here's what the standard says. Here's what, here's what the standard said. Here's what I'm saying that I'm doing in relationship to the standard. And now here are some pieces of evidence to support that. It's as simple as that. All you need to think about is, how can I show that I'm applying this standard in my classroom? And what evidence do I have, right? So you're going to select the piece of standard that goes along with it, what you wrote that aligns with that, and then some evidence, right? And you can talk to your support provider about the kind of evidence you want. We recommend that you use the fact documents because there's just so many opportunities in fact. You save student work, you have lesson plans, you have unit plans, you have assessment where you analyzed assessment results, where you talked about differentiating for students. Those fact documents are created in a way that are supposed to help you demonstrate all of these standards. So just think about using what you have, because we don't want you to have to go hunting around and looking for stuff, okay? So that's really the main idea here. You're going to do that, remember, for 4 standards. There's pedagogy, there's equity, EL, and special pops. So for each one of those, you're going to have highlighting what the standard said, highlighting what you said, and then a piece of evidence. So let's take a look. Back here again, fact, IIP, CTP summary. We skipped this for a moment. We did the induction journal. Now we're going to go to the support provider log evidence down below. Pretty simple. You go on to bitsofsupport.com, and what you want is a copy of year-to-date total hours. It's one sheet only, okay? Because sometimes people give us all the logs and it ends up being 40 pieces of paper or something. We don't need that. All right, we're going back to that skipped part. Well, actually, this is more like the finishing point, to be honest. When you're finished, how are you going to present this information? And what we recommend is that it's really well tabbed. Tabs make this process so simple and easy. If you use those headings that we talk about, like this is fact completion evidence, it's very, very clear, right? This person has tabbed those main headings that are on your checklist, okay? And it makes it very simple for us to look at. Please, please, no sheet protectors. Sheet protectors are the enemy. They are very difficult to give you feedback, immediate feedback. We have to take things out of sheet protectors. Bottom line, no sheet protectors. Now, we said we saved the CTP booklet, so remember that is due. It's nice to be able to somehow make sure that it's safely submitted with this, because sometimes people kind of tack it on with their documents and it's not clear. The other, and the reason I'm bringing that up is sometimes people even really forget to put their name on it. So please make sure that however you package this, it's all well done. We do not require binders. As a matter of fact, it's easier for us if you do not do a binder. It's totally fine to put it all together with one big gigantic binder clip, right? And you have the tabs in there, and you have your CTP booklet in there, and you turn it in an envelope. That is totally fine with us. Binders, yes, they're great and they're wonderful, but remember we're getting 100 and something of these documents, and so sometimes it's a challenge. The other piece that you need to know, and this is absolutely, positively so important for you to know, you do not keep any of this evidence. It is ours. This is our record that you've completed the program. All throughout this program, we've given you back everything. You've gotten back your entire Module A, your entire Module B. We're not asking for any of that. What you give us here is the proof that we've provided you with a clear credential program. We are an accredited institution. We need to have documentation. This is all that we have on file about your clear credential program. The only thing you get back is the transportability document. This is ours. So let's get that CTP booklet. Always causes a lot of questions, so that's why I saved it for last, right? I'm nobody's fool. But what I want you to realize is that every single standard, standards 1 through 6, should have 3 dates, right? Because you were supposed to do dated entries each time throughout Module C, weren't you? You were supposed to write probably, scratch that. You were supposed to enter in, when you did Module A, you have a date of where you assessed your practice. Module B, right, is another date, probably, in this case, I can't read it too well, but one of these, this is probably Module A. And then this one here is probably Module C, right? So I should be able to see, wow, look, this person at Mod A was here, they moved up, and then at the end of Mod C, they stayed the same. Totally acceptable, totally fine, right? So every single element, 1 through 6, shows these 3 dates. However, when we start getting into your focus standard, right, and this person chose standard 4, we should start seeing more dialogue between you and your support provider, right? So this particular focus still has those dates, but now it has comments, right, throughout. Not lots of comments, but comments. The moment we turn the page and see this, guess what we know? This isn't just the focus standard. This is now the focus element, right? This is the one that's on your individual induction plan. This was the one that you really, really looked at closely and you developed very closely. You went to a PD specific to this one. So what we're looking at is lots of comments. We don't like to assess a number to the amount of comments back and forth, but everybody asks, and we just put the random number 5. It sounds like a great number. I grew up on 5 Harvey Street. Maybe that's why. I don't know. But this is why we don't like to put a number on something. We prefer quality. However, it's not okay to say 2 comments are enough. You know, we do want to see more commentary. With that particular element, the focus element, it's where you want to show evidence. And it is up to you, the quantity, but it should be quality. So with this particular person has a variety of things, right? So here's their CSTP element right here. And look, they really clearly chose some things that aligned with this particular standard. It could be student work, it could be module work, it could be, it really depends on which standard is your focus standard. In this case, standard 4 is very much about taking a look at planning lessons and so forth. And so this person wanted to, highlight some of the things that they did in their classroom to communicate, instructional and academic content standards, right? So some really good evidence. Pictures are always fabulous evidence as well. So you decide what you put in there, but essentially this is kind of what it's going to look like. All right. This is specifically for year 2 only. Hallelujah, here we go, year 2. Congratulations. You must have the form that is an application. And we do ask for Social Security and all this other information and a personal email. It is imperative that you give us an email that is not SAUSD because we don't know what's going to be happening with your particular job situation. And so it's really important that it is a personal email that you use regularly. The Social Security number, that's what the State of Commission on Teacher Credential uses to identify to make sure you are the one who's clearing the credential. We keep these in a binder. We're very careful about not keeping this information on desktops and hanging around our office. So please make sure that you give us that. The other thing that you're going to give us is a copy of your actual current credential. And here's a reason. Some of you have multiple credentials. This particular person, for example, had several different credentials. And guess what? Your program clears pretty much all of them. So, for example, you have a teacher who's a multiple subject teacher, but might also have a single subject credential and authorized to, by examination to teach math. So all of this experience clears those credentials for you. But we can't go in and put that in when we apply unless we know that you have those. It actually asks us. So this is so important for you, all right? The next thing you need is a CPR card, and it must be current. It must have 6 months left on it before it expires. You must have this. It's a non-negotiable. The state of California requires, of course, and the Santa Ana Unified requires, right, that you have current CPR. So make sure that's in place. If, for some reason you look at your card and realize, oh my goodness, it's going to expire, I need to do something about it, the only one that you can attend that's online, yes, they do have online. Isn't that crazy? That is just so weird to me. CPRtoday.com. Okay? CPRtoday.com is an online CPR training. And it's totally allowable from the Commission on Teacher Credentialing. There are others that sound kind of like CPRtoday.com, and people go in and they take it and they submit it, and we cannot take them. So CPRtoday.com is the one you want. The other thing to know is Santa Ana Unified School District does often have them on Saturdays available. I don't know if it's every other or one Saturday a month, but that's something to look into as well. So if in fact you still have questions, you can go back and look at this and move the sliders so that you can look at particular parts of the document to help you. However, we do have some support meetings that are coming up. One of them is April 17th and the 24th, and you're more than welcome to connect up with us. It is by appointment. It may be individual or small group, depending on how many people can come and logistics and all that. But we're here to help you, to answer questions if you would like us to help you through the process, or just talk through it if you just want somebody to make sure you're doing a good job and you want a pat on the back. We're okay with that. So either of these times we're available for you. Well, that's the end of it. We certainly hope that this helps you, and apologize for kind of a little pop-ins here and there, but we just thought it's important to get this out and get it out in a way that's more user-friendly and may not be perfect, but it kind of shows that, just like you, we're doing the best we can to reflect on our practice and to make things better. Last year we did something similar, and it was a bit difficult, and it was a little clunky. It was a bit linear in its way and didn't have a lot of flexibility for you as a user to be able to move forward and backward. And so we got together, quite honestly, with one of our teachers who was a BITSA teacher in the past and support provider, and now just an amazing individual who provides flipped classroom trainings. And she met with her, and she suggested this, and we are jumping off the ledge. So thank you for putting up with all the little inconsistencies and pop-in marks, and wish you best of luck completing your document. And congratulations, we're so proud to have you work in our district.